Right. Hello, everyone. Hello. It's so good to see you all. Welcome to Planters Knowledge Pop Up Podcast. And I always call it a pop up because it really depends on the author's schedule and whether or not whenever you can pop up, that's when we're going to pop up and we're going to pop on. Okay. And for those of you who are joining us for the first time, let me tell you a little bit about what Planters Knowledge does. So, we interview authors and delve into the world of literature. Our mission is to provide a platform for talented authors and illustrators to share their stories and insights with our listeners. So, from fiction to nonfiction, we explore a wide range of genres and topics. So, we are super excited today to have this guest here. I have had the pleasure of knowing about Vanessa before I actually met Vanessa. And then we talked on the phone for a while, but then it was a couple years before we finally
That's right.
happened to meet in person
Mhm.
by divine ordinance, I will say, because it definitely was not by chance. So, all right, we'll get into that story in a moment, but I want y'all to hear her voice. So, welcome to the show, Vanessa.
Oh, Kathleen, it is so good to be here with you. It really, really is. I've been looking forward to this. No makeup and everything.
And
I'm
that's
good.
right. We're bringing it raw. We're bringing it
That's it.
straight
We're
up.
bringing it wrong.
Okay.
That's right.
All right. All right. So now, for the listeners, if you when you're joining in, please feel free to say hello in the chat. You can let us know where you're joining us from, and if you have any questions, you can also ask those questions in the chat, and we will try to answer as many as we can. Also, as you're listening, this same link can take you. Be sure to subscribe to Ask Dr. Walls 525, and you can be sure to check the replay and also send it out to people. And last but not least, make sure you have your pen and paper ready because every time I do a show, there is something that you are going to want to catch. You're going to want to catch and carry. You're going to want to make sure you take it, whether it's for yourself or to share it with other people.
Absolutely.
All right. So, with all that being said, Vanessa, let's start to tell the people about you. All right. So, I had the opportunity to meet you. Goodness gracious, this is pre pandemic. On the phone was the first time that we spoke as I was starting my author's journey for children's books.
Yes.
And that's when my husband Edmund said, "Oh, you need to talk to Ray's wife." And I was like, "Okay, you say that like I know who that is. Who
Oh,
is Ray's wife?" And then he was like, "Oh, she does children's books, but I know it's more than that. So here, call her."
best
And
day ever.
that best day. And we hit it off
Yes, we
instantly.
did. Instantly.
Oh my goodness. And
Instantly.
you taught me so much in that quote unquote brief phone call
Yeah.
that it helped get me in alignment on next steps for me on this author journey. And now here I am, four books, four children books in, right? So so I always credit you. Let me grab these with for people who are just joining us. So,
Look,
right,
look.
four children's books in from that conversation when none existed at
Yeah.
that point. So, oh, excuse me. Edmund writes, everybody knows Ray's wife.
Ah, oh
God
my God.
love him.
I
God
love
love
it.
him. All right. So let's tell. Come on, Vanessa. Tell the people about you. What is it that you do?
I am a children's book illustrator, but I'm an illustrator first. I tell
Hmm.
people all the time, but I'm also a writer, and not by choice, honestly, with the writing, because I am dyslexic. And so
Hmm.
I really am more into storytelling. That's more what I
Hmm.
do. I have
Hmm.
editors that I work with that really help me with the writing part, but I'm more of a illustrator storyteller.
Okay.
And come from Newark, New Jersey, so I'm a Brick City girl.
I gotta say, come on, Brick City.
Yeah. And yes, I currently right now live in North Carolina with my husband of almost 30 years and my 23-year-old daughter who's getting ready to graduate from college. So
Oh,
I'm
right.
so excited. So excited.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
let's talk about how did this even start for you? So you mentioned being an illustrator first. When did you know that you could even draw?
It was so funny. This is a question I'm commonly asked all the time. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
my mom and dad were both musicians. And when I came to them and told them that I wanted to be a children's book illustrator, or just
Mm-hmm.
I want to draw, period, I want
Mm-hmm.
to draw, they lost it. They were like, oh my God, how can a child be what it's never seen before? And it
Oh,
was,
wait a minute. We got to stop on that one.
yeah.
How can a child be what it's never seen before? Talk a little bit about that.
Well, being born in Newark, my
Mm-hmm.
parents were from the South. So
Mm-hmm.
there was a great migration in
Mm-hmm.
the 50s and 60s of a lot of Black people moving from South Carolina, Louisiana, all those different
Mm-hmm.
places. And they
Mm-hmm.
come to Jersey now. And my mom and dad, they were the people who pulled 2 and 3 and 4 jobs at one,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, they did background for different people. Like Shirley Caesar would come into town. They would do
Mm-hmm.
background for Shirley Caesar,
Oh,
and
interesting.
things like that. So they knew that they could be musicians because they were already doing that.
That was familiar.
Piano. My father played guitar and organ and piano, and they both had a tremendous voice. My mom could sing till it felt like heaven was falling down.
Mm.
It was amazing, but it did scare them because how are you
Mm-hmm.
going to do what you? We don't go to art
Mm.
museums. We don't.
Mm.
And it wasn't because they didn't want to go. It's that
Mm-hmm.
they weren't invited to go. So
Yeah.
how can we really promote this? We believe
Yeah.
that you can sing. We know we taught you to sing.
Yes.
But this whole art thing that you want to do is scaring the mess out of us.
Hmm.
And I remember the day, Kathleen, I go into the kitchen and they were cooking dinner, and I drew on the side of the kitchen stove with my Crayola crayons, and it melted down into a puddle on the floor. And I jumped back and I said, I'm an artist. And they said, no, you're a janitor. You're going to clean all this up.
Oh no.
And I ended up cleaning it all up. And they sent me to my room, where I went in my room and I went in the closet and I started drawing on the baseboards. And
Mm.
it was just in me. It was such a part of me. It was as
Mm.
natural as breathing to me was
Mm-hmm.
drawing. I stuttered really badly as a child, and my mother
Mm-hmm.
stuttered as well. And they
Mm-hmm.
taught me that if I sang, I wouldn't stutter. And
Really?
so I got that under control, but I didn't talk as a child. I didn't speak really until probably about 6 years old. That's when I
Mm-hmm.
started to really, I sang, but I didn't
Mm-hmm.
talk, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I would go to school, because it was very hard for me I was very shy, but very
Mm-hmm.
hard for me to speak to other people because of the stuttering.
Yes.
You're
Yes.
nervous, and then that
Yes.
stuttering starts coming.
Yes.
And it was even with adults, when adults would ask me to do things or whatever, and I had to reply,
Mm-hmm.
it came out in a stutter. And so I
Mm-hmm.
started to sing good morning.
Mm.
So when they would
Mm.
ask me, I had to do it in a sing-songy voice.
Yes.
It's Vanessa, how are you doing over there? I'm doing good. I'm good. Things like, anything to just not stutter, you
Yes.
know, you
Yes.
know, and poor people, when they look at people who stutter, the look on your face, don't think that the stutterer doesn't know. You're like,
Right.
just spit it out.
Right.
It doesn't come like that. It
Right.
doesn't come
Right.
like even
Right.
when I'm having this conversation with you, there's a
Mm-hmm.
song going on in my head to help me get out the words so I don't stutter as bad.
Wow.
So yeah, so it was rather difficult with school. I failed all the way through school,
Mm.
F's and D's everywhere,
Mm.
up until high school, past high school,
Mm-hmm.
and miraculously got into FIT because of the drawing
Wow.
skills that I had. I
Wow.
took a what they call the pre-testing that you do before you go to college,
Yes. Yes.
SAT scores.
Yes.
Get 300 points just for showing up and signing your name.
Right.
My score was 400.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to take in a person who's you don't even rate. You don't even
Mm-hmm.
rate. And
Mm-hmm.
my mother had a very good friend who I called Aunt Annie.
Mm-hmm.
Annie was a tall, light-skinned Black woman who had to be about 6'2".
Mm-hmm.
She was a model.
Mm.
She, I still think about it now, and it still makes me want to cry when I think about what she did for me. And she
Yes.
went to FIT,
Yes.
and she spoke to the administrators, and she said, "This girl's got talent.
Wow.
Just let her come in and show you what she can do."
Wow.
I got into FIT.
Wow.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Wow.
It
The
still blows
power.
me away.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the word is so important, and it's so important, right? The advocacy is so important.
That's the thing right there that you just said.
Mm-hmm.
As parents, we need to become advocates for our children.
Mm-hmm.
Look to teachers to be advocates for
Mm-hmm.
your student. You need to be an advocate for your own kid.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And
Mm-hmm.
my mom and dad unfortunately didn't understand that.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
were only what, maybe 3 generations out of slavery.
Mm-hmm.
So they
Mm-hmm.
still had, unfortunately, a slave mindset
That's
of,
right.
just stay in your place, or
Mm-hmm.
we can afford help for you. So I never
Mm-hmm.
had anybody to teach me as far as reading
Mm-hmm.
was concerned. They just put me
Mm-hmm.
in special ed and left me.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was it.
Yeah.
But then I call him Sonini Nanini. That's what I call him. Okay. He breathed on my aunt, and that she would
Mm.
stand in and be an advocate for me
Mm-hmm.
was just so powerful. And my mother,
Mm-hmm.
she was so grateful for her. She said, if Annie wasn't here, I don't know that you'd be able to go to school and to do
Yeah.
what you
Yeah.
wanted to do. And it didn't just happen right away, Kathleen. It took years for me to become a children's book illustrator.
Mm-hmm. Talk about
And,
it.
and to tell you the journey, I worked in a hospital for 30 years.
Okay.
And I was a phlebotomist. My mom was a midwife and a phlebotomist and an LPN. Three
Okay.
jobs. Three.
Okay.
She would make me get up in the morning at 4 a.m. and go to work with her. And I couldn't stand it.
Mm-hmm.
I like, what is the purpose? This has nothing to do with fashion. And that's what I went to FIT for, was fashion illustration and design. That's all I wanted to do.
Yes.
You know, my mother was also a milliner, and she
Oh,
made
wow.
hats and
Yep.
and attire for people, and so I would have to be a part of that as well. And she made me. I didn't want to. She
Got
made
you.
me learn how to make hats, and I was so
Mm-hmm.
grateful after she taught me. Like, wow, this is something you'll have forever. Nobody will
Mm-hmm.
ever really take this
That's
from you.
right. That's right.
And years move on, and I only do greeting cards, handmade greeting cards for weddings, family, friends, whatever. That's it. And every
Mm-hmm.
once in a while, I would draw a picture, and never really thought about, okay, my career, nothing's going to happen.
Yeah.
Get married to Ray, Ed's one of Ed's friends.
High school friends, one of his buddies.
Yes, one of his buddies. And I get married to Ray, and Ray at I think it was 2000. We had Zoe,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, it was 9/11 that happened,
Mm-hmm.
and all the jobs for Honeywell and different companies went
Yes.
out of the country. They went out of the country.
Yes.
He didn't want to leave the country.
Mm-hmm.
And he had been collecting unemployment checks for a minute and everything. And I was
Mm-hmm.
working part-time for this doctor's office. And I was looking at Zoe's books.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I went to school for illustration and I'm not doing anything for illustration.
Mm-hmm.
I was scared to touch a computer, but he went out and bought me a computer. I don't know where he got the money from, Kathleen, still to this day.
Okay.
Got the money from, but he bought me a HP.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember wanting to teach myself how to draw digitally.
Okay.
And there was Photoshop, and there was all these different things. And Photoshop was really expensive. It was like
Yes, it
19
was. Yes, it was.
the money for it.
Mm-hmm.
I went to one of Zoe's toy stores, and I
Mm-hmm.
saw this program called Orly Draws.
Mm.
And it was a Jamaican girl that talked like this. And
Yeah.
she said, listen, I'm going to teach you how to draw. And you're going to draw a triangle just like this. You're going to take your pen and you're going to do this and you're going to do that. And she taught me how to draw.
Really?
Like on the computer. And I was like, it was an eye-hand coordination thing. But after I got it, I was so ashamed. I didn't want to tell people that I was drawing, with this children's program or whatever.
Yes.
But I started a blog at that point, because now we're doing blogging now. The internet is live and working.
Yes.
I began to take Zoe's books apart, and I would look at every page, Kathleen, every single page.
Mm-hmm.
And the book that in particular was The Snowy Day, which was my favorite book of all time.
Yes, I remember Snowy Day.
I love Snowy Day.
Yes.
And I'm going through the book, and I just hear him speaking to me saying, go and find another book and tear it apart.
Mm-hmm.
Learn how the pages turn.
Mm.
What is a page turn?
Mm-hmm.
All these terminologies and stuff. And so I'm doing all of this, and fast forward, I learned how to draw and I get all of this stuff. And, I'm taking courses. I'm going to SVA in New York
Mm-hmm.
and taking courses in children's book illustration with a teacher named Monica Wellington.
Mm-hmm.
And Sergio Rizzer was another one I was taking classes with. And I
Mm-hmm.
learned so much. And they would look at my portfolio and go, Vanessa, all you got to do is just do the work. Just do the work.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing the work. I'm drawing every day. I'm drawing Zoe. I'm drawing whatever I can possibly draw. And the one thing that was a blessing was, as I worked in the hospital, I worked with children. And my job was to draw blood on children.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of the hardest jobs, and it still brings tears to my eyes,
Mm-hmm.
that every parent does not get to take their baby home.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I even know what it's like to hold a dead baby, because I did through it myself, but to also hold a dead baby or get blood or whatever I get from, I was aware of children, their smiles, what they're excited about, what they're afraid of, when they're content, when they're being cantankerous, when they're having kids. I got to see all the different, all of it. Walking through the hospital one day, and a friend of mine, she said, Vanessa, she said, you always had a smile on your face. She said, that's what made me want to be your friend. She said, was your smile. She said, and now you don't smile anymore. What's the problem? I said, I'm full of reality. She said, what do you mean? I said, the reality that every child doesn't go home. Every child doesn't get healed. That cancer doesn't care what color you are, age you are, it doesn't care. Okay? I said, I'm faced with this every single day. It's not a child, it's a young girl of 25 years old who just got married and found out she has cancer and she's dying.
Wow.
Or it's somebody's grandma who just wants to be here to hold her first grand, and she's not going to be able to do that. So I'm very, very much aware of those things. And so, I go to this now, fast forwarding again. Ray loses his job. No more unemployment is coming in. How am I going to make money? Where the money coming from? And I heard the voice, start working on a portfolio. For who? Who's going to see my portfolio? Just me? Because I was like, art is not art until you put it in front of somebody.
That's right. Come on.
And it's not for them to judge it so much, but for them to see your idea. So I'm working on this portfolio. Kathleen, I have artwork everywhere in my house. I mean, everywhere. On the dining room table, on the living room chairs, on the couch, on the side, to everywhere. And Ray gets upset with me. He goes, you need to clean all of this up. And I'm like, why? He said, well, we got to eat on the table, Vanessa. I'm like, we ain't barely got money for food. So what, why?
You can stay.
And I have been doing this for almost over a couple of years, about 2-3 years. I had a friend of mine from church that said she was coming over. And she said, Vanessa, she said, I feel a need to give you something. And she pressed some money in my hand.
Okay.
And she pressed past me to come into the house, and she goes, Nessa, who does all this artwork? I said, I do. She said, how long you been drawing like this? I said, I've been drawing like this since I was a little kid. She said, well, what are you working on? I said, I'm working on a portfolio. Hopefully somebody will get a chance to see it or whatever. And she goes, Vanessa, do you know who I am? I said, yeah, you Karen. You dance at church. You dance at church. And me and Karen have known each other for like 8 years by that time.
Right.
And she said, Vanessa, do you know what I do for a living? I said, no. She said, Vanessa, you don't know what I do for a living? I said, no, I don't know what you do for a living. I said, because I don't want to talk about what I did.
Right.
It's depressing. I don't want to do that. She said, Vanessa, I work for Scholastic Books.
Wow.
You're hired.
What?
I've been working in children's books ever since that day. And my heart still gets full when I think about what Karen did for me.
Yes.
Karen Proctor was an editor at Scholastic Books. She had a program called Read and Rise, which was a wonderful project that was given to children of African American descent and
Yes.
Hispanic who didn't get books to take home. But this magazine was afforded them, and they would have something that they could look at and read and see
Wow.
art and see themselves.
Themselves.
Because when you can see yourself, then you can free yourself and
Yes.
be yourself. And I
Come on,
wanted
y'all.
to be a part of that. I really
Yes.
wanted to be a part of that. And she opened the door for me to walk through. And I got to meet such awesome people like Andrea Pinkney.
Really?
Who I believe at the time might have been and still probably is the vice president of Scholastic Books. And just opportunities that came after that day. I have been working in children's books since that day.
Wow. Well, you know what you're getting. You know it. Oh,
Absolutely.
my goodness.
Absolutely. It was life changing.
You better
for
believe
me.
it.
Life changing for me. Indeed.
Wow. There are so many pieces in there. And I know people who are listening are like that. I know they sitting in like this, like I am, into the screen. Because you are a storyteller. Because I was fully captivated from the beginning.
Yes.
There's so many life lessons in that.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. I hear your heart was just pouring out through your hands, right? Through your drawing. It was nonstop. And as you were talking, Ray saying, clean it up. I'm seeing you as a little kid drawing on the stove. And your parents saying, clean it up.
That's
and
it.
then, right. And then just even moving, you went to drawing blood. You're still drawing. It's a different type of drawing.
Isn't
right?
that amazing?
Yes.
I mean, I am known for the New York Times. This is what the New York Times said about me. That Vanessa is always going to have her characters in fashion.
Come on.
Back in the day when they drew teachers in children's books, they always look frumpy and old, whatever.
Yes.
I never wanted my teachers to look like that.
Yeah.
I wanted my teachers to be respected. I wanted children to say, hey, I want to be a teacher. I want to look like that.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. It was also that Black people weren't really drawn beautifully in children's books. If you look back in the day, there was a book called Sambo, and everybody just assumes that it is Black. Sambo, that kind of thing. And it wasn't about a Black character, but more of an Indian, an East Indian character. That's where the book is based off of. But still, those characters were not drawn beautifully. They were to insult. They were to make people laugh at you. And often when I'm doing school visits, I constantly ask the children, do you want to be laughed at? Do you want people to draw flattering pictures of you? And they're saying, oh, no, I don't want anybody drawing. And I would only see myself in a children's book when I got The Snowy Day. It would be the first time that I would ever see a Black child illustrated beautifully in a book. And it was because Ezra Jack Keats, who wrote and illustrated the book in the year that I was born, 1963, decided to do this with Viking Press. And Viking Press actually was very, very upset that he created a Black character. It was 1963, right smack dab in the middle of the Civil Rights Movement.
Yes.
What are you trying to say? Are you trying to say that you're on their side and that Ezra had to hide his name? Because his name wasn't Keats. I don't recall right now what his full name was. He changed his name because they weren't giving Jewish people book opportunities.
Wow.
So that he would step out on a limb and draw this little boy. And when they asked him, why did you do this? He said, I drew him because he should have been there all along. He should have been there all along. What child doesn't look for snow? They love snow. I'm not saying all children, but most children enjoy snow. And Ezra knew that. And he drew the children that lived in his building. So he didn't move out of the ghetto. I'm rich now. I can go and I can live, wherever.
Right.
He stayed in the ghetto where his muses lived and created the most fantastic books that are, Snowy Day is still selling millions and millions of copies.
Yes.
I wanted to be like Ezra Jack Keats.
Oh.
Still want to be like Ezra Jack.
Oh, yes.
You can look in the book and see. I have video Ligra, and it's Vanessa drew me just as I am. Or I'm in a wheelchair, or I have alopecia, alopecia, because I have alopecia.
Mm-hmm.
You get to see yourself beautifully
Yes,
illustrated. Nobody making fun of you.
that's right.
All the beauty in your alopecia is
Mm.
you standing
Yeah.
out, and you accepting you, not other people, but
Mm-hmm.
you loving you.
Mm-hmm.
And you telling your true story and
Mm.
embracing it and owning it, you cause others to want to come in and be a part of your story.
You got that right. You got, yo, she just gonna let me keep these on here. Look, we have yes, yes, yes. And I want to go back to your statement. You said, when you see yourself, you can free yourself.
Yeah, yeah,
And you saw yourself
yeah.
as an artist, as a storyteller very early on.
Very early
And
on.
when you were unable to fully live in that, right,
Mhm.
it became what I'm hearing is confinement, restriction, and
Yes.
lack of freedom. And yet, when
Mm.
you found that way, that outlet through, did you say it was called Orly Draws?
Yes, early draws. Yep.
Right. And
Mhm.
so now this is my clinical side coming out. I'm like, it makes sense that it had to be a children's toy because
Yeah,
you were a child
I was
when
a child.
you were clear on that path for you.
Yes.
And so that inner child in you connected with that mechanism,
Mm-hmm.
and the adult in you was able to purchase it for you as opposed to waiting for another adult to do so. Right. So your adult self advocated for your inner child self.
Inner child. Yes, it did.
Go
Absolutely.
ahead. I see you. Go ahead. What else you got?
Absolutely. It is for every adult who is here listening to this podcast. And I do ask you to subscribe and to please support Kathleen. I've listened to many of her podcasts and they have been on point. You will always leave with some nugget to apply
Mm-hmm.
to your life. And
Mm-hmm.
uh, for us sometimes is we put our fears on our children.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want you to be a dancer because I tried to be a dancer. It didn't happen for me,
Mm-hmm.
so it's not going to happen for
Mm-hmm.
you. I
Mm-hmm.
don't want you to become a chef because I tried to be a chef and it didn't happen for me, so it won't happen for you.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do that. Don't do that to your children. Don't
Yeah,
do that. Fear, I call it false evidence appearing real.
that's right.
Okay. And
Yeah.
this false evidence is you don't know what your child can do.
Mm-hmm.
You, you
Mm-hmm.
don't know what they can do. You
Mm-hmm.
may know your child very well. I'm not saying you don't know your child, but when we put limits on children of
Mm-hmm.
what they can do, one of my friends, Ty Allen Jackson,
Mm-hmm.
talked about the power of yes and no.
Mm-hmm.
Always telling your child no, then that's all your child expects is no.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
where I come from, it was the same thing. My mom and dad would tell me things like, money don't grow on trees.
Right.
Mommy and daddy. And my mom is with the Almighty.
Yes.
Money grow on trees, baby.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
it does.
And made from trees
They're
too.
made from trees. Hello.
Right.
Okay. It's what comes out of your mouth. What are you
Yeah.
saying? And we
Yeah.
don't hear sometimes the stuff that we're saying. If you're calling your child black, you come in
Mm-hmm.
with your little black self, or
Mm-hmm.
come in with your dumb self. You're so dumb and
Mm-hmm.
stupid. And you say
Mm-hmm.
these things and you say it with such fervency and
Mm-hmm.
energy that that's what's being forced to that child.
Yeah.
It's coming out
Yeah.
of you. You might not see it with your eyes, but people say, "Oh, you into metaphysics?" Yes, I am, because it's
Mm-hmm.
real. It's science.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Science.
It's,
And mhm.
education wise, we would call that a self-fulfilling prophecy.
A self-fulfilling prophecy indeed.
Yeah.
If you say that they're no good, if you
Yeah.
say that you're stupid, you're dumb, you're crazy, you're putting all that on that child, and that
Mm-hmm.
child can only give you back what's
Yeah.
been put into them.
Yeah. And so
And
this is why the work that we do is so important, because for those children, for those people, right? This is people of any age
yeah,
who have that rhetoric playing in their head, they
mhm,
can pick up a book that we've created that
yes,
gives them a different narrative, that gives them a different story,
yes,
right?
I totally agree with you because
Yeah.
it is every time a child picks up my book, I'm like, maybe mommy and daddy are so overladen with all the troubles of the world.
Mm-hmm.
They don't even have time to read this book to you, but you
Mm-hmm.
know how to read, or you can just read pictures.
Yeah.
But you would look at it and be lifted every time you see it. That Miss Vanessa said something or showed me something that
Yes.
wasn't shown to me before, and I feel so good about
That's
myself.
right. And that goes back to your earlier statement, right? Being able to see yourself. So your parents didn't want you to be an artist because they didn't understand that to be a reality,
That's right.
right? They
That's right.
didn't know it at
Mm.
that point. They had you had never seen one before, but yet you had this inner knowing that this was something that you could do. And we talk about that with like social media and so forth. Now there was a time when people said don't play video games. Now they're saying you better get on and practice, right? There was a time where they say stay off of social media. Now they saying, okay, have you created your content? Right.
That's right.
So there's
That's
all of these new realities. And I will say, as an author, it was in that first book that I wrote, children's book that I wrote, The Reunion, The Adventures of Froggy T and Bunny, right?
yeah.
And when the illustrators sent me the copy for me to review, and I saw this picture right here,
Oh yes.
it expanded my mind because initially in my mind, I just saw him walking to his house. But when they sent this picture, all of a sudden it was like, there's life in this water.
There's life
What,
in this. Oh, they
right?
see.
What's
See.
going on in this water? Oh my goodness, there's trees and hills all the way back there. Well, what's going on behind there? And this picture alone opened up my brain. And
Yeah.
next thing I know, 5 more books poured out.
See. I think it's beautiful when authors and illustrators work together, because it's been traditionally, Kathleen, that authors work separately, illustrators work
I
separately,
heard that.
and then they come together. And it was because they didn't want the author to be, or the illustrator to be influenced by the author. And I get it. Hear me.
Okay.
There are some writers that I have worked with have been a piece of work to work
Mm-hmm.
with. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Put this in, and whatever. I
Okay.
worked on a very, very special book. And I had one of the writers say to me, I don't want your name in the book. She littled my name. She told me that she did not want me to put my daughter's name in the book. But all of her children were in the book. And I'm like, you don't understand. This is a together thing,
Yes.
and we have to work together. And it's
Mm-hmm.
something about, and I'll be honest with you, I work with Derek Barnes, who
Okay.
did a wonderful series called The King and the Queen of Kindergarten.
Yes.
And it became a New
Yes.
York Times bestseller. Derek lived down the street from me.
Okay.
Derek don't live far from me at all. Derek
Mm-hmm.
and I are so close that when we work together, it just all falls together in such
Mm-hmm.
a beautiful way that
Mm-hmm.
he is the person I choose to work with. When they tell me
Mm-hmm.
that Derek has a new book, okay, I'm in,
Right.
because I know that I'm going to have fun with
Yeah.
him. But
Yeah.
there is a beauty of authors and illustrators talking to each other, because the illustrator is always
Mm-hmm.
going to come from their view and the
Yes.
writer's going to come from their view. And when you mesh it together, it's the
Yes.
best set ever.
Let me tell you, it's so interesting that you said that. So I had an illustrator. First of all, it took me 12 years to find my illustration team.
Wow.
All
Wow.
right. So I wrote the story. It started out as a birthday poem back in
Mhm.
2008. The more I read it, the more I said, this will really make a good children's book if I flesh it out. So I did. I fleshed it out, and that birthed the reunion. Then I started asking any and everybody who I knew could draw, thought could draw, art teachers,
Yeah.
anybody. Can you? And some people were like, that's not my style of art. That's not, I don't feel like I can capture it like you need to. So it is a vetting process
It is
to
very.
get someone, right, who can be the illustrator. And then when I want to say it was my conversation with you when you did teach me about the fact that sometimes the company doesn't want, the author doesn't want the illustrator, they want separate packaging.
Separate packaging. That's right.
Right. And so learning that was very important, and which is why I chose to stay independent in my publishing,
Mhm.
because when I met my illustration team, and like I said, they opened up my mind and they would say to me, tell me what you see.
Yes.
And I would tell them what I see, and in verb, right, in written form. This is what I see. And then they would then send me back their interpretation of what I said I saw,
Right. Yes.
right? As well as the words. And they helped me realize things in my writing that I didn't notice, because in one part it says she hopped from sun to moon.
Yes.
And they said, okay, so it's going from day to night.
Yes. Exactly. Exactly.
You are exactly right. I did not realize that. Well, should she have on the same clothes as she's going from day to night? Does she? Right.
That's
All of a sudden. So, right. So they created this image.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
And it was like, wow, these are things that I have to take. And then even with this, and as an illustrator, I know you can appreciate it. Take a look. See the shadow?
Look at the shadows. Isn't that something?
Right.
Isn't that something?
If she's going from day to night, then therefore at some point there's a noon. We got
There's
to
an
change the lighting.
exactly.
We have to. As an author, I ain't thinking about that. But go ahead. What's coming up for you as I'm saying these things?
You know, the joy of working with people who want to be worked with. You know, is everything to me. When I'm doing illustrations, I work with some wonderful people: Liz Guyton, Thelma Guyton, Tammy Sauer, Derek Barnes. So many great writers to work with. And the one thing I do is I always pick their brains to find out exactly how do you see this character? How do you what do you feel about maybe using one of your relatives as the main character? Things like that. I want my writers to be happy with the illustrations that they get. You know, and there are other illustrators who feel like, I'm not trying to please anybody. This is my expression, and that's cool too. But it's for me, they wrote the story.
Yeah,
they wrote the story, so I want to know what Kathleen is thinking about when it comes to Froggy and Rabbit. What's going on with them? How do they look? That type of thing. Are they I forget the name of it, but are they characters that walk on 2 legs or 4 legs?
That's right.
That's right. That type of thing. Do they have on clothing? Or are they just fur animals? What are they? Those are very, very important things. Does your rabbit have glasses?
Yeah.
Or maybe your rabbit doesn't have glasses or
whatever. Froggy T does.
Froggy T does. Yes, he does. I love it. But it's little things like that.
Yes.
It makes it so very, very, very special.
Yeah, it does.
So, I can't pass on that one.
It does. And and I love it. Some of my favorite parts of the day are when my illustration team contact me and they say, can we have a meeting? And it's like, sure. And then we go through, am I seeing, is this matching? Is this what you want? How's this color? And so forth. And it's amazing. It's amazing.
It is. It's a puzzle all coming together.
It is a puzzle.
It makes such a beautiful picture.
Yeah.
And so I love that you have illustrators, and writer meetings where you come in and this is a collaboration.
Yes,
every time Eric and I get together, it's a collaboration.
Yeah.
I'm like, one of us is the salad, the other one is the dressing.
Yeah.
It comes together to make this beautiful dish that we can share with other people.
Yeah.
And inspire other writers to do the very same. But that's everything, Kathleen.
Yeah.
That's everything.
So now let's give some people. There's a couple things I want to make sure they get. First, let's show them some of your books and let's talk about some of your books.
Let's see. I got a bunch of them back here.
Y'all, you can see the lab. She got all. This is a creative genius right here.
I got to move some stuff out the way.
Okay.
I thought they were available to me. Oh, because Vanessa has so much in her office as far as books and art supplies. That's the thing. I do have a new book that just came out, and I don't have this one up here yet, but I gotta show you these.
Okay.
Very, very special to me. I did a book called Grandma's Purse. Excuse the background. I did a book called Grandma's Purse many years ago, and some of y'all know about that one. But I also did this wonderful book called
Over to the other side. There we go.
Becoming Vanessa.
So cute.
And this is basically a true story about me not liking my name. I remember the true story is I was the only Black child in the class. in
Mm-hmm.
Newark, New Jersey. And this white teacher who did not like black students
Mm.
uh, made it very clear. She said, your name is too big for you. And from that day on, I think I started to hate my name.
Oh my
Didn't
goodness.
like my name at all. And it was very, very painful. And my mother
Mm-hmm.
was pregnant with my little brother who she lost, actually.
Oh
And I
wow.
remember sitting on her lap and she took out the name book. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, why'd you name me Vanessa? I don't like my name. And she said, why don't you
Mm-hmm.
like your name, baby? I said, I don't like my name because Mrs. So-and-so said my name is too big for me.
Mm.
And I'm already struggling with dyslexia. So to
Mm-hmm.
write, so to write two S's and two
Yes.
A's and
Yes.
all that stuff, it
It's
was
a
just,
lot.
it was a lot. And I remember my mama said, she said, what's your favorite thing to draw? I said, butterflies. And she says, that's what Vanessa means. It means butterfly. And I fell in love with my name from that day. I was like,
Oh.
wow, I'm a butterfly. That is awesome. That's
Oh.
that's becoming Vanessa. Here it
Look at
is.
that.
And
Beautiful.
yes, and it's available on it's at basically any bookstore you probably go into in children's section.
Okay.
Definitely at.
Fantastic.
This is one of my favorites. This
Uh-huh.
is
Oh, oh,
just
she's
like me.
beautiful.
And I made her out of cardboard.
Really?
Yes, I did. I do a lot of cardboard art, but I made her out of cardboard. And this is my first book of poetry.
Oh.
And it was hearing little girls tell me stories about how they wanted a father. I had a psychologist
Mm-hmm.
a couple of last year rather. A psychologist come on and she said, "Your book is dangerous." I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "You wrote a poem about a little girl asking why she doesn't have a father or where is
Mm-hmm.
her father." And she
Mm-hmm.
said, "You shouldn't do that. That's dangerous to the child." And I'm like,
Mm.
"How is it dangerous to a child?" When I've sat down with children and I
Yes.
asked them, some of what was their concerns.
Yes.
Some of their concerns fitting in. I don't fit in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't look like this person, or I'm the only black child in the class.
Mm-hmm.
Or my mom and
Mm-hmm.
dad just got a divorce, and I really feel horrible about it. And what do I do? Where do I fit in? Those
Mm-hmm.
things, and it bothered me so bad. I thought I was doing damage, but I want to read it for your listeners.
Okay, please.
And it says, "A wish for daddy. He brings her to school, and then picks her up. He kisses her forehead and gives her a big hug. She dances on his feet, and he tells her that she's sweet. I wish I had a daddy. That would be so neat."
Mm-hmm. Oh.
In there for you. There you
Oh,
go.
that's beautiful. And
And
it's
so
so real.
it's real.
Yeah.
It's something that happens in so many families, not just black families, all over the world. Daddy's gone for so many reasons.
I
It
have
could
worked
be,
in schools for over 30 years
yeah,
and with father-daughter dances and parent day and dads and donut days and things like that. And so many times, I mean, these are the conversations that I too have had with children.
mhm.
Yeah, it's real. And
It's
it's
real.
created an opportunity for them to express themselves so
Yes.
that they're not keeping it bottled up.
Keeping it, and that was the thing that touched my heart so much when these girls and boys. I picked a girl, but it was a little
Mhm.
boy as well. He says, I want a daddy that comes and picks me up and
Yep.
takes me somewhere. So when I
Yep.
created this book of poetry, I wanted
Mhm.
all children to know, I see
Mm.
you.
That's
I
right.
see you. I
That's
see you, and
right.
I hear you loud and clear. I remember one little Hispanic girl when I went to Texas. I went to the Texas Children's Book Festival, and
Mhm.
she asked me a question, and she said, "Miss Vanessa, could you write a book about a Spanish girl who wasn't poor?" And
Mm.
and I was like, "Wow, wow."
Mhm.
She says, "Is not poor and wears nice clothes and things like that."
Wow.
It's like this is amazing to me.
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
amazing to me. And it
Yeah.
was that she felt that everything that was written was
Yeah.
always so sad and
Yes.
always the
Yes.
children not progressing and that kind of thing. And I'm like,
Yeah.
she should have that.
She
She should
should.
have,
That's right. That's
and so
right.
I'm going to be the one to do it. I
Yeah.
do have another book out called Nesting Dolls. I don't have it here in
Yes.
front of me right now,
Yes.
but Nesting Dolls just came out, and I have another book coming out in January called Shake It Off. And
Mm.
it is a very interesting story about
Oh.
a goat. About a little goat. The goat happens to be me. I'm
Oh.
a goat. Now, and I'm not talking about the greatest of all times either. I'm talking, I'm talking about a goat, a bad
Go.
goat.
Yes, yes.
But this goat had a lot of problems.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of problems. And when they tried to bury this goat did something very, very special. I'm not going to tell you what it is.
Okay. We'll have to have you come back on after the book is released.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. So we will do that, y'all. Oh my goodness. Now, so your books are available in traditional bookstores like a Barnes and Nobles, in
Independent. Yep.
independent bookstores. They're available online.
Yes.
And are they available in Target like some other products?
Yes, they are.
Mhm. Let
Yes,
us talk about that.
I did. I did Wonderland for Targets, and I'm so excited. Everybody
Mhm.
that has emailed me or sent me a picture or a message on Instagram to say, "Hey, I was in Targets and I picked this up."
That's
Thank
right.
you so much.
It's so important, and I'm so glad that you're sharing this because we go back to your parents' statement. How are you going to be something that you don't know?
Mhm,
Right? You have taken illustration to a whole nother level because when you told us that you had wrapping paper and boxes and ornaments in Target. Who would have ever thought
Who ever
23
thought?
years ago that you would have products nationwide and that have been selling out? They're hard to find.
Don't make me cry.
Oh no, I'm gonna do it because that's what I do. I'm a therapist. Look, so come on. This is amazing. So you saw as much as you could see,
Uh-huh.
and then that which you call God saw even further for
Yes.
you. And
Yes.
you were obedient to that which was in your heart. The desire of your heart was to draw, and you
Absolutely.
were obedient to that. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Um, we have what we say.
Yes.
We have what we say. If
Mm-hmm.
all you think about is sickness, that's what you're gonna have.
Mm-hmm.
If all you think about is divorce, trust me, it's
Mm-hmm.
coming.
Mm-hmm.
If all you're thinking about is hurting somebody else, you will do that. You
Mm-hmm.
know. And why can't we just change? And it is by choice.
Yes.
People go, "You're so happy all the time. How do you do that?" I choose happiness.
Yes.
I choose it.
Yes.
Doesn't mean that everything is going right,
Yes.
but I choose it. To
Mm-hmm.
choose anything other is, to me, is doing me, the universe, and everything else a disservice.
Yes.
I choose joy
Mm-hmm.
because it feels good.
Mm-hmm.
I get up and my husband still laughs at me, but he joins in. I go, "Today is a good day." No, I mean, seriously, it's a really, really good day. I mean, it's a really good day. And he feels that thing. He said, "Every time you say it, Vanessa," he said, "I feel it in not my soul, I feel it in my spirit."
Yes.
And you exude that. Only Vanessa has a relationship with her UPS person and her FedEx person that we literally stand at the door and have conversations, because you always make me feel good. You always got an encouraging word in your mouth, or something. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what I did when there was nobody around to encourage me. I encouraged Vanessa.
That's it.
I told Vanessa, "You know what? You don't need nobody's permission to smile, be happy. It ain't about pleasing other people. You please you first." And
That's
I
it.
thank Little Rogers for this little thing. Little Rogers is a known agent of a lot of different illustrators. And she
Mm-hmm.
said, "You need to do what's in your heart and not look at somebody else and what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Because people buy what you love.
Yes.
If you're doing coffee pots, trust me, there's somebody over there that loves coffee
A
pots
good coffee
just
pot.
as much as you, and going to buy that oven mitt that has that cute little
Mm-hmm.
coffee pot on it, or that little portrait that you have in your kitchen of the coffee pot. Look at you.
You know,
You know,
we had some people go scouting out some targets to find you, and they sent me pictures.
oh my
So,
God.
all right. So for people to know, she is. You go check out Vanessa Brantley
Yes.
Newton. If y'all thought I was playing, here's
Oh no,
her
it's
stuff
selling out.
here in Target. This is real.
Yeah, it's selling
All
out.
right. as you
definitely.
were saying, if you like coffee pots, as you
If
were.
you like coffee pot, somebody over there got something. If you like high heel shoes and stilettos,
Yes,
somebody's over there, with something that you like. But you got to be true to you. What do you enjoy? What do
yes,
you like?
yes.
And then in doing so, you inspire other people. Wow,
That's
that
right.
that I think I want to do something like that, and that's what
That's
I'm here to
right.
do.
That's
Is to
right.
inspire, uplift, make you laugh out loud. That's really
Mm-hmm.
what I'm here for.
Mm-hmm. Look, my first book, The Greatest Soul Journey.
Oh
Um,
yes, yes, I
yes,
remember that. I
right.
remember that. Yes,
And the greatest stands for God restores excellence, activates talents, encourages spiritual transformation. And by you activating your talent, right,
yeah.
you were so insistent on doing it by any means necessary.
Any means necessary.
Okay.
Any
And
means.
then everything else unfolded from there. So it was a seed that you continuously nurtured, and
Yes,
it has blossomed and impacted so your life, obviously, your family's life, so
yes,
many other people's lives. For a child to come up to you and say, would you create? Right?
yes,
Because you can, and you have the option to say yes or no.
yeah.
It's somebody, but you heard her, and it stayed with you.
It
And the
stayed.
power and the importance of representation and possibility.
That is everything. That
Right?
it is something so powerful to think that Black children never got to see themselves. I mean, in the 1960s, 68, I
Mm-hmm.
remember getting the Dick and Jane book,
Mm-hmm.
looking through those Dick and Jane books. I
I
never saw
I
me.
got some upstairs.
There you go. When I watched the
Mhm.
cartoons, I never saw me. And I
Mhm.
gotta tell you two stories
Yes.
of how when you work with the universe works with you.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Whether you believe it or not, what
Mm-hmm.
we put out, we attract.
Yeah.
We are magnets. We're walking magnets.
Yes.
I remember going uh, uh, to a bookstore to pick up a book for Zoe, and I was like, I'm not buying anything that doesn't represent my child.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked over, and I'm finding all these beautiful books that have
Mm-hmm.
children on the cover of the books, and was told by some editors that they said that Black children's faces on books don't sell books.
Mm.
That was the one of the most painful things. And I was like, oh,
Mm.
no, 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 we're gonna change that. We're gonna
Yes.
change that narrative, and it's gonna start with me. So
Yes.
I was called out from several different I don't know what to call them, act like a Kirkus. If you guys know what Kirkus is um, a book publishing company. It's not really a publishing company, but what they
Okay.
do, they grade books, and they tell
Oh,
you
okay.
what's to look for and stuff like that. And
Yes.
they're calling me out about my uh how can I say it? It was diversity. I was one
Mm-hmm.
of the first. I was one of the first
Wow.
who
Come
really
on.
did diversity in children's books.
Come
Was one
on,
of the
Vanessa.
and
Yes.
and and they kind of called me out. Vanessa Brantley Newton went always with her diversity. Yes, because every child, I see every child.
Yes.
I see every child. I
Yes.
am not colorblind.
Yes.
When people tell me, "Oh, I'm colorblind," something wrong with you. You need to go
Right.
get your eyes because I'm clearly brown.
Yes.
Okay, and proud
Yes.
to be brown. By the way, I don't hate what I am. I'm
That's
grateful.
right.
I'm brown, but I want to instill that into little children who read
Yes.
my books.
Yes.
And in really being purposeful, like you said, and intend. What do you intend? What do you
Yes.
intend to do?
Yes.
And my intention was I'm gonna make sure that every Black child sees themselves.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's
Mm-hmm.
my uncle. That looked like my mama. That's my aunt.
Mm-hmm.
That looked like Miss Kathleen. I
Right.
want them to do. I want them to have that
Yes.
moment. That's
Yes.
everything to me.
Yes.
And it was what I manifested. My sister would take me in her basement, and we would sit in the
Mm-hmm.
basement, and she tells me, "I want you to truly think about what you want. Think about it,
Mm-hmm.
and then I want you to see it." See
Yes.
it. She said, when basketball players talk about playing basketball, they
Yep.
always see themselves winning or a
That's
runner.
right.
They see themselves running and running to the win. I
That's
want
right.
you to see yourself running. Since that
Mm.
day, I have illustrated over
Mm-hmm.
100 children's books.
Wow.
Over 100 children's
What?
books.
I've never done this before. I'm now clapping with my tambourine. Hey, y'all know you ain't never seen me clap a tambourine before. Look.
I love it. I love it. But it was what
Wow.
I manifested. My sister, this is the second story. My sister Coy was mentored by a very, very special woman.
Mm-hmm.
We used to call her Susan from
Okay.
Sesame Street. If some of
Uh-huh.
y'all remember who Susan
I
was.
remember
Okay?
Susan.
And Susan was basically everybody's mom.
Yes.
She was everybody's mom.
Yes.
And I remember meeting her one day and I called her Susan. She said, "What'd you call me?"
Uh-oh.
She said, "My name is Loretta Taylor. That's my name." I was like, okay. So I'm having my 50th birthday party
Uh-huh.
in Jersey at a restaurant called Pantasia's.
Uh-huh.
And all of my friends and relatives came to this birthday party. It had to be about 200, 300 people in the room. It was
Uh-huh.
beautiful. And me and Ray, we renew our vows and everything. And they're giving me a award because I had complained a little bit about I've never gotten a Caldecott, I've never gotten a Newberry,
Mm-hmm.
I've never gotten
Mm-hmm.
any of these special
Yes.
whatever. And
Yes.
my sister said, "We're gonna put a stop to that today." So they
Mm-hmm.
presented me this award. And so this wonderful singer named Tony McClendon,
Uh-huh.
he sings one of my favorite songs by
Uh-huh.
Gregory Porter. Um, uh, and I'm standing there, and this woman walks over to me. Now, when I was a little kid, I'm gonna give you all a little. When I was a little kid, I used to listen to records
Mm-hmm.
where they would tell you the story, right? So I
Yes.
had this
Yep.
golden record. I had this golden record of the snowy day,
Mm-hmm.
and I always wanted to know who's the woman that read the snowy day. It was just so beautiful. I just
Oh.
love the way she read this story, and it always has stuck with me. I'm 60
Yeah.
years old, but it still stays in my head.
Yeah.
And I look up. And like I said, I'd met Loretta before.
Uh-huh.
So they passed the award over to Loretta and she presents me the award. And y'all gonna have to excuse me if I cry. I know I look kind of with no makeup on, but y'all gonna really see me cry. Um, she walks up to me and she hands me this award that my family's created for me.
Yes.
And she says to me, she said, "Your sister said that you're dyslexic and that you always listened to the record because you couldn't really read the book to yourself."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And she said, "I want to let you know that I was the woman in the record reading to you. And I lost it. I mean,
Oh.
I cried the most ugly cry you probably ever seen in your whole entire life. But that was
Oh.
everything to me. I carried that inside me. I carried inside me how powerful that was. I always
Mm-hmm.
wanted to know who was the woman in the record. And here is Susan, Loretta Taylor, at
Wow.
my 50th birthday party.
Wow.
Talk about full circle.
Full circle.
Full circle. I was like, this is the most incredible moment I have ever had
Wow.
in my entire life. This is,
Wow.
and I manifested that as a child because I always wanted to know who's the woman in
Who
the record.
was it? Yes.
And
Yes.
to have her hug me, and I
Oh.
cried all over. I cried all the
I'm
makeup off. It was my agent was there. My agent, she was crying. All of us were crying because they knew. I mean, I boo-hooed so hard. I wish I had
oh.
to show you
What?
because they took a picture of me. It was the ugliest cry you have ever seen, but it felt so good. It
Oh, I'm
felt
sure.
good. And I
Oh,
want to do that for somebody else. I want to do the
yeah.
same thing for somebody else. But it's the
Wow.
power of speaking it into
Yeah.
existence.
Yeah.
Speak it.
So many pieces there. And I also want to ask you, are your books on audio? Have you done audio books with all of your books? Yes, do tell.
I have done 4 Audible books
Okay. Yes.
of my own. There is Just Like Me,
Mm-hmm.
Becoming Vanessa,
Mm-hmm.
Nesting Dolls will be out. I think it's already out. Nesting
Okay.
Dolls is already out, and Grandma's Purse. And
Okay.
y'all want to hear Grandma's Purse. I actually got an award for Grandma's Purse reading.
Oh, fantastic. Let me tell you what's just so funny about Grandma's Purse. When I was little, somewhere between 5 and 7, I came home and I told my parents I wanted to be a grandmother. And and they told me, they said, "Well, you have to be a mother first." I said, "I don't want to be one of them. I want to be a grandmother." And they said, "Why?" And I said, because they love you. I said,
Oh,
and
yeah.
when they get tired of you, they drop you off. And I said, and they always have peppermint and
Yep,
butterscotch
absolutely.
in their purse
Mm.
and gum. Those were
And,
the three
and
things:
go.
peppermint,
And
gum,
go.
and butterscotch in their purse. And they said, well, you got to be a mother first. I said, I don't want to be one. They said, why? I said, because your children never go away.
Oh my gosh.
So when
That is
I
hilarious.
saw,
I
so
love
when
it.
I
Okay. You
saw,
gotta write that. You gotta write
yeah,
that. You
yeah,
gotta write that book.
yes, yes, I shall. So when I saw that you had grandma's purse as a story, I said, finally, somebody heard me. So,
It's the truth. It's hey, it's true.
yes,
What you want? It's true.
I love it. Well, Vanessa, I mean, we could talk for hours and hours.
Absolutely.
I thank you for joining us
Oh,
today.
thank you for having me. Thank you.
Oh, people, please follow her. What are your social media handles?
Yes. So on Instagram, it's Vanessa Brantley Newton. On Facebook, it is Vanessa Newton. They hacked, unfortunately, my art page, so I don't have
Oh,
an art page
no.
on Facebook any longer. But I do have a website of VanessaBrantleyNewton.com. You can
Mhm.
definitely check it out. I also have an Etsy store, Ooh La La Design Studio, where you can go
Mhm.
and find stickers and art from the books and different things like that. You can
Fantastic.
find it over there as well. Yes.
And you have some classes coming up.
Yes, I have
Please
some
tell us.
awesome classes.
Mhm.
Thank you, Kathleen. I am about people being healed, and
Mhm.
so we're doing a couple of classes. We're actually going to be doing once a month, where I don't care if you're an artist or you're not an artist. If you don't paint or whatever, you're going to have fun in these classes.
Mhm.
It's meditation and manifestation
Mm.
classes where we're going to be manifesting what we want through collage.
Mhm.
It's going to be so much fun. And you can look for my website for the more information. It's going to be coming out very shortly. And we're going to be
Mhm.
doing this right around the end of Christmas. That's when we're going to be doing it.
Okay. All right. So it is important. And if you feel as though you're not an artist, like she said, I'm putting her website in the chat right now. Don't let that discourage you.
Yes,
We all need this outlet.
absolutely.
And women, we need this
Yes,
outlet. I've been talking with women. I do a lot of work with women of color and just the importance of saying enough is enough. And be very clear, this is for all people. I
mhm.
was just sharing, this is the population that I tend to work with. And being able to come down, relax, remind, step into self, right?
Absolutely.
Reconnect with self and
Absolutely.
express yourself. Find various ways to express yourself. I used to literally, now I am not an artist out of my hands, I'm an
Mhm.
artist in my mind. It has yet to connect. So,
You need to join us. You will
well,
have
look,
fun.
I know I will.
You need to join us.
And I would carry around, and people would laugh at me. I would keep a notebook and a box of crayons in
That's
my
it.
bag.
Absolutely.
And whenever I felt like doodling, that's what I would do.
Mhm.
Sometimes I go to Michael's and I just buy stuff. I have a paint set over
Yep.
here. I
Yep.
do because I know expression is important in
It's
all
so
of
very
its
important.
ways, shapes, and forms. And
Absolutely.
so, as a clinician, I encourage people to express themselves in healthy ways. And so, Vanessa's
Mhm.
class is one of those ways
Yeah.
through, as she mentioned, collaging, through drawing, through cutting, through, right, all of these
Yep.
tactile ways. It's important, and textures, right? It's important to express yourself.
So
So
true.
give yourself this gift.
Yes.
And Vanessa, I think you said, what is it, $25?
It's $25 per class.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, we're going to be doing it for 12 months. And
Okay,
we encourage you to get a sketchbook because I want you to look back and see how far you've come.
that's right. That's right. It's amazing. It is amazing. All right, y'all. So be sure to check out Vanessa. Go to your local Targets, buy up the wrapping
Yes, buy
paper.
bracket.
Yes, and everything else. Get her books as well for self. Right, we have our inner child, so we don't have to say
Yeah,
that it's only for children. It
that's
is
right.
for all of us. I love a good picture book. All right, with some life lessons in it. So be sure to support. I think it's so important to support our authors and our creatives, and you are an illustrator. Thank you for sharing. I know we've only touched a piece of your author's journey today, and I look forward to having you back on to talk some more.
Yes, ma'am. Looking
Oh,
forward to it.
all right. All right, y'all. Join me Friday. I'm going to have a set of sisters who are authors, and their genre is more of the paranormal. So it'll be a very different conversation, but be sure to subscribe to Ask Dr. Walls 525. And then I have some other shows coming up next week. Next Wednesday, I will have Stacy Amen. She'll be on talking about her self-help book. She is a music therapist. And so
Ah,
talking about expression, and here you are, a singer also coming from a musical family, and how to use sound and voice in healing.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's going to be a very interesting conversation as well. And I think I'm going to do a special show on Monday because that will actually be the one, no, 3 year, my goodness, 3 year anniversary of me starting my publishing company.
Oh my goodness.
December 18th, 2020 is
Oh,
when I started Planners Knowledge. Thank you. I didn't even realize that much time had passed. But yeah, that's when I started that. And so, yeah, so I'll talk about that a little bit. So
all
be sure
right.
to join us. All right. Thank you again, Vanessa. We'll talk soon.
Love
Everyone
you.
else, love you as well. Everyone else, God bless, be well, and as always, continue to live your greatest life. Talk to you soon.